It's Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely. We are both coming to you from our homes on this Thursday and excited to be with y'all for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports topics. One day closer to the weekend, Wade.
Yeah, man, it is fast approaching, and it has warmed up a little bit, and so the weekend creeping up. Conference championship. But the sad part is, Mo, we only got 3 football games left, so I try and always put this week in perspective and just savor every moment because it can also be a little depressing in that regard as well.
You know, when you think about it that way, you're right. So I try not to think about it that way. But
Yeah, you got to just let it go in one and out the other. If you dwell on it, it'll get the best of you.
it will. But we do have a couple of really good ones coming up this weekend. So it feels like we're going to kind of end things on a bang. So looking forward to that. A lot of football to talk about. A lot of a lot of hockey to talk about all of a sudden. Hoops. It's the full Monty right now here on Main Street Sports Today. In the second hour, we'll be joined by friend of the show, Thomas Harding of MLB.com, as we'll continue to talk a little bit about the 2025 Hall of Fame class, who they got right, maybe who they missed. And Thomas will be a voter for the 2026 class. So hopefully he can give us a little insight into what he's thinking, if he's already doing some advanced planning and that kind of thing, what his ballot may look like this time next year. So looking forward to getting with Thomas. Always a good time when we do. In the next segment, we will be joined on Coach's Corner, presented by 10 Pin Alley, by newly minted Pope John Paul II football coach Rock Batten, coming back to the mid-state area after a year down in Georgia. A former Ensworth and Battleground Academy coach, former Vanderbilt football player. So looking forward to checking in with him again on Coach's Corner. We'll also be giving out some weekly awards during the next segment. We'll be talking some basketball, men's and women's, and one game that was set to take place tonight that a lot of folks will be disappointed to learn it is not. Pretty high-powered matchup. We'll get into that here later in the show, as well as some college action from last night, some NBA action from last night, and a little football. Again, got the playoffs coming up, but we've also got some off-field stuff. We mentioned yesterday that Terry McCormick of TitanInsider.com was able to get President of Football Operations, Chad Brinker of the Tennessee Titans, in a one-on-one yesterday, and we'll kind of take a harder look at that piece that Terry's got up again at TitanInsider.com and kind of walk through that a little bit. We've also got some Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame news. Friend of the show, Brad Willis, is at it again. They have started naming their 2025 induction class. This will be the 60th induction class for the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, and one of its members will be a former Tennessee football standout, former NFL standout. Looking forward to talking a little bit about that and more. So again, plenty to get to here over this next couple of hours, and looking forward to doing so. Wade, what do you think? Shall we?
I think it's going to be good. It's always good to be with you. It's good to be with everybody. Time to throw it back later, and time to, let's get this. I'm revved up, partner. Let's get it rolling.
Awesome. I'm glad you said that. We will be throwing it back here on Throwback Thursday to a recent conversation that we had with Nashville-based former college football official Russ Pulley, whose assignment at the Pinstripe Bowl over the holidays will be his last on the field. Let's check in with him and see what he's got planned next as he takes off the stripes. So looking forward again to that Throwback Thursday segment at the top of the second hour as well. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into yesterday's results and today's schedule on the Rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Let's kick it off in style, folks. The Thursday rundown is off, and it is running here on Main Street Sports today. One score of note last night, just one, but it was a good one. Memphis had a big lead, and then it turned into a medium lead, but they still win nevertheless, 132 to 120 in Memphis last night versus the Charlotte Hornets. Again, that was our lone result from last night.
That's the Brandon Miller-less Hornets, by the way. The former Cane Ridge standout again. We talked about it a couple of days ago. Suffered a torn wrist ligament last week and is out for some time. So I don't quite know how to take the Grizzlies struggling without him, but
they were up 20, close to 30 the whole game and had to hang on to win by 12. It was a snoozer. Everybody got what they wanted, if you catch my drift. The Grizzlies won, and the Hornets continue to wave
and the Hornets didn't.
Yeah, they keep waving the white flag in that regard. So we roll on. Our schedule for tonight, these are double headers on the high school ranks, and both are beginning at 6 o'clock. We have Franklin Classical, who's going to be at Dixon Academy, and Stratford will make a trip over to Whites Creek. Again, both double headers, and both set to begin at 6 p.m. College doubleheaders tonight. It'll be Tennessee Tech visiting TSU. Those games get underway at 5 o'clock, and you can see them on ESPN+. UT Southern is on the road deep in Georgia, taking on Point University. It'll be a Southern States Athletic Conference doubleheader that begins at 5 p.m. Also capping our doubleheader action will be at 5:30 tonight as Montevallo makes the trip to Trevecca.
Women's basketball matchups for this evening. 6 o'clock start for North Alabama in Clarksville against Austin Peay. You can see that one on ESPN Plus, as you can see Central Arkansas at Allen Arena against Lipscomb at 6. 6:30 also on ESPN Plus. You've got Arkansas at Vanderbilt, and you've got Sam Houston over at the Glass House taking on the Lady Raiders of MTSU. Again, both of those are 6:30 starts. Both of them can be seen on ESPN Plus. At 7 on ESPN, number 17 Tennessee goes to number 7 Texas in Southeastern Conference play. Again, that's a 7 o'clock tip. It's on ESPN. Men's basketball matchups for tonight. 6 o'clock, ESPN Plus, Lipscomb going down to Florence, taking on North Alabama. 6:30, Middle Tennessee State did make it out to Huntsville, Texas. They will take on Sam Houston State. 6:30, ESPN Plus. Also at 6:30, also on ESPN Plus, Austin Peay is at Central Arkansas. And on the ice, trying to make it 5 straight, the Nashville Predators go out to San Jose. That's a 9:30 puck drop, and it's on FanDuel Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks over at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And as we just mentioned, literally, the Nashville Predators wrapped up their 5-game homestand by going 4-1, winning the last 4 straight, longest winning streak of the season. And now they take on the same team that they defeated for that 4th straight victory, going out to San Jose, the Shark Tank. Wade, what are your thoughts about playing a team back-to-back, especially the way they beat San Jose here at Bridgestone on Tuesday night?
My thoughts are it's going to take a lot for this to change over the course of the season for Nashville. I go into every game with 0 expectations. They can win versus anybody. They can straight up lose to anybody, and they were very close to losing to a bad San Jose team the other night. All that being said, they do have a little mojo. Obviously, that emotional comeback has got to count for something. And they're 6-2 in the month of January, so they are playing better. And they're taking care of business in that regard. On the flip side, San Jose has lost a lot of games this month. They've lost 3 out of their 10 they've played, or excuse me, they've only won 3 out of 10. So, I mean, they're not great. Nashville's not great. I really don't know what to expect. I do know what little fan enthusiasm maybe was still lingering for San Jose, they might rally behind the guys tonight because of the way that the game played out in Nashville a couple nights ago.
Again, Nashville down 5-1 on its home ice early in the second. They come back and they score 6 unanswered, including an empty netter by Philip Forsberg that extended his streak of games with a goal to 6. So he'll be trying to make that 7 tonight. First 4-goal comeback in the history of the Predators. And as we talked about this over the last couple of days, you certainly don't want to be in the position to make that kind of history. But I guess if you are, it's nice to do so. They had been 0-173 when trailing by 4 goals. And, I would venture to say that a number of other teams have similar type records in that situation. I mean, overcoming a 4-goal deficit isn't very easy.
No, that's not supposed to happen. That's the exception to the rule, right? And that's what made that win so special for Nashville the other night. The fact that they were able to somehow, some way, pick themselves up off the mat. And yeah, it speaks to San Jose's ineptitude. That they're a franchise that a 4-goal lead is not as safe as you might imagine, but it also shows the gumption that this Nashville team still has. They still got a lot of firepower. They've not played to the caliber as some folks might have expected with said firepower, but they're still battling and playing well. And if you wanted to look for a little extra juice, a little extra mojo tonight, there will be a certain netminder playing for the Sharks tonight who's got a little history with the Preds. So Askarov all but certain to start this game tonight. And can you blame the San Jose coaching staff after your netminder gives up 6 and then the empty netter the other night? I mean, kind of surprised we didn't see him come in after a pulled situation the other night, but it looks like Askarov will go this evening for San Jose.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because I was just getting ready to say one of the sidelights for me, I would think, is who's going to be in goal on both ends of the ice. Because
yeah, fair question there too.
Georgiev had an awful night late for San Jose. Saros got pulled for the Preds, and I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce this guy's name, but who came in and got the win for Nashville in goal? Aminen? Anumin.
Hey,
there we go.
I'm a novice when it comes to hockey, so that's about as good as we're going to get on this show, I think, between the two of us today.
Wade, you are the radio voice.
I did go to one game. I will give you that. I went to a game. That's about the extent of my Preds experience this season, though. I will give you that.
Yeah, Annumin, Justice Annumin, Annunin. There's no M in there. Annunen. He had 15 saves, only gave up the 1 goal on Tuesday night. So, I mean, again, do you roll Saros back out there, or is it the backup who, gave you some pretty good time between the pipes in Tuesday's win? I'll be interested to see how that works out.
Yeah, I don't know how that necessarily plays out, but for me, if I'm part of the coaching staff, or especially in that goalkeeping department, you could probably do well. Hey, it's a weird road trip. You're doing a quick little turnaround to San Jose. Maybe give Saros a little extra night's rest after kind of a little bit of a stinky performance. Maybe give Ananen a little extra run too. I would not be shocked if they made that move for the fact of what we saw play out on Tuesday night, but also, give Saros a little bit of an extra rest before you kind of start getting into a few more on this road swing.
Yeah, that's a fair train of thought. We'll see if Brunette agrees with you or not. Again, 9:30 puck drop for that one. Askarov isn't the only guy with ties to this team. Mikhail Grandlin leads the team in scoring, 14 goals, 26 assists, so 40 points for him. Don't think he scratched Tuesday night, so he'll probably be looking to get things going tonight against his former team. So, again, should be interesting. Preds going for their 5th in a row, which would be a season high, as is the 4 in a row that they have currently gotten. Preds 47-29-8 all time against the Sharks. They have won their last 5 against San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
They have won their last 10 against San Jose, and they have won their last 5 at San Jose. So a lot of signs pointing in the right direction for the Preds tonight. So, like you said, look for a stinker.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this time and time again. Everything is kind of trending in that direction. But you got to go out and you got to play, and both of these franchises are desperate to get wins. It feels like Nashville still, maybe it's just because we're closer and have a little bit more familiarity, but it still feels like they have a little flicker internally of hope when it comes to the postseason. It feels like that may be on its way out in San Jose. So if that is a factor at all, maybe that plays into it tonight, but should be a good one. And I'll be tuning in and out, assuming my FanDuel app works, of course. That's a 50-50 proposition every single night. Shout out to FanDuel for being one of the worst apps known to man on the planet. But I'll have the Australian Open going on the big TV, and I'll probably flip the Preds on the second TV if we can get that thing rolling.
Oh, FanDuel catching strays, or maybe not even strays. Yeah,
it was Bally's before them. Now just FanDuel just has to absorb the blow these days. So
maybe it was a direct hit. Yeah. Let's take a break and let's let Wade calm down. Here on Main Street Sports Today, when we continue Throwback Thursday after the break, we'll be going to Coach's Corner, and we will be joined by Pope John Paul II football coach Rock Batten. Stay tuned. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 123-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and die-cast NASCAR collectibles. Visit nashville.lionel.com or call 615-455-9399.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
You're seeing the signs too, right?
What signs?
This holiday season, the largest lantern festival in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. Experience more than 1,000 all-new, handcrafted lanterns, towering creatures, magical worlds, and a North Pole village. At the center of it all, the Smashville Ice Rink. Welcome back to Zoolumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
Throwback Thursday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. And it is time for Coach's Corner, presented by 10 Pin Alley. Eat, play, party. Again, we're pleased to have with us former Battleground Academy, former Ensworth head football coach, and newly named Pope John Paul II coach, Rock Batten. Coach, thanks for taking some time with us this afternoon.
Thank you guys for having me on. I'm excited to be on and excited to return to Tennessee, man. I'm so thrilled.
Crank it up, baby.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir. Yes, sir.
absolutely. Let's get it going. So, true story. Coach Batten spent the past season down at Savannah Country Day in Georgia, but had already been mutually committed, he and the TACA, the Tennessee Athletic Coaches Association, to coach in the TACA East-West All-Star Classic in mid-December up in Clarksville. So Coach Batten comes up, coaches the winning West squad in that ball game, and as we are walking off the field, I'm saying to him, I wish somebody would kidnap you and keep you up here while you're here. Now, I need to know, was this in the works at that time, Rock?
It was not. It was shortly after that where some conversations started to take place. But I laughed about that. Of course, you and I after the fact when you said that because it stuck in my head. But no, but it's it's something, and it was a thrill first off to coming back to coaching that game. TACA and Coach Marbett, who I think the world of, and that whole Murphy and that whole organization there. I just kind of fulfilled my obligation that they selected me last year. And so it was thrilled to come back, to see a bunch of guys that I know really well. My staff was amazing, and the kids we had were amazing, have a lot of fun. But it felt good to be back in Tennessee, just, old stomping ground and all that. But wasn't in the works then, but, shortly thereafter, some things started to transpire, and here I am, and excited to get it rolling, get going.
I'm always fascinated, Coach, when a coach has had such a lengthy tenure at the high school level in one state and then goes to another. The transition, because I've from a journalistic standpoint, I don't know if I could ever really figure out another state's layout just in terms of whatever sports it is that you're covering. What was it like making that transition to Georgia private school football?
It was a quick learning curve. I mean, some of the general rules as far as, state to state, they're the same in terms of practice and those things and protecting the players. But more so it's just about learning the area. There's a couple of things that are a little different. They have a thing called padded camps that exist in Georgia where you can really have half pads on and thigh boards, no knee pads, and do some work with 5 or 6 other teams in the summertime, twice. That's different than Tennessee. I'm not saying that's good or bad. We weren't able to do that because of my time in arriving, but there was a few adjustments, not a lot. The biggest portion when you move from state to state is, learning the area, learning the other local coaches, because you're the outside guy coming in. And Savannah is a very secluded, not secluded, but very small area when you compare it to Middle Tennessee and Nashville. And so it was just, trying to connect with coaches here locally and learn the way of the ropes of things done here in Savannah. But at the end of the day, it's still, it's young people you're coaching. It's still football. You got people you have to report to, administrators. You got a coaching staff, and you still have to do a good job and build relationships and put the best product on the field and where it looks the right way and is done the right way. At the end of the day, that's still the essence of it, no matter what state you're in. A few rules here and there, but not a ton. A lot of guys don't wear their knee pads, or their knees are not as covered in Georgia compared to Tennessee. So I didn't have as many of those kind of issues. But it's still football, still young people, still administrators and kids want to be coached hard, want to be loved and mentored and guided, and have fun doing it. And more importantly, anything when you're at private schools, get an amazing education.
As you kind of made that trip and made that journey, now you return. Have you learned anything in particular, anything jump out to you that you may have picked up, whether that's about you yourself or you as a coach, kind of as you migrate back now into Tennessee?
A lot of it would be just the coaches that I work with, continue to have patience as a coach. I think that's something I've been fortunate to coach this game from the high school to the collegiate level for 25, 26, almost 27 years at this point, a long time. And just, continue to have patience in what you do and stay committed to what you do. I mean, we had a transition here. So, when you're a new coach coming from out of state, coaching a new team, not only just a buy-in, because these kids in the community don't know who I am and all those things, just getting people to buy in consistently. And when there's rough times, making sure you stay the course if you, if that's the right thing. And we did. And by the end of the season, we were playing really good football. Early in the season, we struggled a little bit, but I think part of it is just, be committed to what you're doing, have a great plan of what you're doing, and see the plan out. If there's needs to adjust, but when, stay the course if you feel like it's going the right way, even though when you're hitting some rocky times and going through some adversity a little bit.
Emotionally, what was it like coming back for you to obviously such a familiarity? Is it a sense of anxiousness, nervousness, excitement, relief? Kind of just walk us through your range of emotions during this.
No, it's excitement. The other ones, I'm excited. I'm thrilled. One, I'm thrilled about returning to Tennessee and, my connections and people there, and my wife, my in-laws are there. They moved from California almost 7-8 years ago. So that was hard leaving them, but getting back close to them. But more so, I'm excited about JP2. This is an amazing place, amazing school with, some of the things that attract me to is outstanding leadership. It's in a great part of town, a growing area that is booming right now. It's Christ-centered, and so I am excited. I am ready to hit the ground running. I have to clear up some couple things here and ready to get to work. And was there last week meeting with students and administrators and getting to know some faculty and people on campus. But I'm excited. I'm so excited for this opportunity and thankful for Dr. Chittle. Selected me as the head coach and the leadership and administration there at the school.
Mm-hmm.
Rock Batten, new Pope John Paul II football coach, joining us here on Coach's Corner, presented by, I just went blank, 10 Pin Alley, Eat Play Party. Coach Batten led Savannah Country Day to a 5-7 record this past season, but Deion Sanders, when he went to Colorado, coach, said he was bringing his baggage with him, and it was Louis Vuitton. Talk to me. Is there a quarterback controversy in the offing at JP2?
No quarterback controversy. Obviously, my son he played here at Country Day and had a really good year, made all region, and we got a good quarterback there. I'm all about competition. Competition makes teams better. My son has known that for a long time in this situation, being a quarterback. Sometimes I remember earlier, I go, man, it's so much easier if you're a center. Nobody really, sometimes people don't look at the center. I do, because he's important, because the offensive line is important. But no controversy. We're just going to compete. We're going to compete and make sure our young men are ready to play. He knows he's got to be ready to play, and he's up for the task. And we hadn't had a chance to talk to the quarterbacks that are currently on campus, just besides the meet and greet and some brief conversations. But as soon as I arrive and some things transpire, that'll happen. And Isaiah will be joining, the school as well, and so will my daughter Michaela. But we're just gonna work and have kids compete. Competition across the board makes every team better.
Isaiah will be a senior this fall at JP2. Hudson Holman threw for 1,800 yards, 21 touchdowns as a sophomore this past fall. That was his second season as a starter, so he started as a freshman. So regardless, it seems like you're going to have some talent at that position, and certainly that's a great place to start.
Yeah. No, it's exciting when you have that position. You look at college football, high school football, and obviously the pro football. If you have a person at the quarterback position who's going to touch the ball more than anyone else on the field, that's efficient, that can protect the football, that can make plays, in the air with the feet and lead, not only just the physical attributes, but be able to lead where people believe in them. You got a chance, you have a chance every Friday night to win a football game. And so that position is always critical for me, and looking to, like I said, to get after it and get our guys ready and have them compete and go out there on Friday night and get it done.
What was it that was attractive about JP2 for you, Rock, from the standpoint, they've been, I think they were 15-19 the past 3 seasons with Brian Sneed, whose departure opened this up, obviously. But what did you like? What do you like about that situation, and to pull you back?
No, like I said, one, it's in the private school league in Division II, AA, which I'm very familiar with, from my early time, and obviously in coaching. And it's a school with, that's Christ-centered, which is important to me. I mean, some people don't know, even being a kid from Detroit, I spent 12 years of my life at Catholic schools from first grade through 12th grade in Detroit. So I'm very familiar with just the process being at a Catholic school. And so having a school that's Christ-centered is important to me. I think it has great leadership. Our new president of the school, Dr. Eric Chittle, is, I think, amazing, is a visionary, very passionate, and our principal, Jennifer Dye. So I'm excited about that piece, being able to work with great leadership and great support that want to do it right and still keep academics and Christ as a big piece of who we are, but also build a football program that resembles that, but are tough and physical and does it with great integrity and character on Friday night, and also just the area itself. Like I said, Hendersonville is a great area, and really all Sumner County. It's a unique location in terms of part of Middle Tennessee, and a lot of great families in that area. And we want to continue to attract some of those families to JP2. But I think it has a great combination of athletics, academics, strong academics. God is a part of the culture there, and great art programs. So I think it encompasses all the great things, and we just have to continue to put a staff together and get our kids to work and believe. And when I met with those young men last week, when I addressed the team, you can see in their eyes they're hungry for success, and they want leadership and guidance. And so I'm just looking forward to get it going and getting my staff together and guiding our guys down the right path.
As you kind of talk about that, Coach, what are the next few little steps? Obviously, everybody's kind of foaming at the mouth, ready to get on the field right now, safe to say. But what's in the short term for you? What are some short-term goals?
Short term for me is, like I said, finalizing my staff, getting all those pieces together on my staff first and foremost, and then getting to town. Trying to make a move mid-year is not ideal, but it's necessary. And try to get to town and build relationships. I think that's so critical for what we want to accomplish. There's some guys on the staff that's there that I'm very familiar with, Philip Montgomery being one of them. So get some things going in the weight room, get guys moving and get guys training. We have a lot of guys participating in other sports, but those that are not participating, how we can get those guys moving and working. But really trying to get to town as soon as I can. And I'm anticipating hopefully here, mid-February, at the latest, as far as me getting to town and start connecting with the young people in the building and get my staff on campus and start putting the things together that we want to accomplish with the program.
Are you snowed in at the moment, Coach? Give us an update there.
I am snowed in. It's in Savannah. It's been, I think, 7 or 8 years since the snow and ice hit this way. I mean, we had ice and we've been out since Wednesday. Yesterday, we're out today. We're going to be out tomorrow. Just got a email from our administration here that we're going to be out. So it's allowed me to get some things done. But yeah, we're snowed in Savannah with ice. I think all of a lot of the Southeast, Atlanta, going through Alabama, and of course the Panhandle, in Pensacola and Destin. My daughter goes to school in Tampa, and she was complaining it was 25 degrees. So it is a little different from what people used to. For me, this is normal. Being a Detroit guy and living in Nashville as long as I have, I'm used to this. But yeah, we're out these next couple of days, and so. But yeah, like I said, looking forward to getting to Nashville and Hendersonville and get myself settled in.
Rock, looking at the schedule, and I'm sure you have as well. There is a looks like a week 9 matchup that might be a little bit intriguing for some folks. I don't imagine there are too many players still around at Battleground Academy from when you were there, but I'm sure you've probably got a little familiarity with some of that staff and some folks on that campus. What are your expectations as far as, you know, how it's going to hit you when you step back on that campus for a ball game?
Yeah, that was the first, my first head job opportunity was at BGA. I mean, that'll be an exciting night. Obviously, I know a lot of administrators and teachers and people who I consider good friends of mine. Obviously, I've known Bobby from his recruiting days in college, and so I'm very familiar with the program and the great things they've done. Cheered them on this year from afar. Like I said, some good people there. But for me, it'll be another game. For me, my focus is our team, our guys, and working ourselves towards belt buckle. I'm a process-oriented guy. I'm a step-by-step guy. Those type of games are on the schedule, but there's so many more on the schedule that all matters, especially when you start talking region play and seedings and playoffs and those things. But for me, it'll start with belt buckle at Webb to try to start the season off the right way. And there's a lot of steps we must take as a football program and as a coaching staff to get our young men prepared for that, that Friday night, that first one. And we'll get to week 9 when we get to week 9.
Fascinating schedule, because after that game at Webb, you go over to Cross Plains and take on a perennially tough East Robertson squad. Come back home for your opener against D2A state runner-up, stepping up to D2AA this year, Columbia Academy. And after that BGA game, you've got Columbia Central at your place. I'm particularly fascinated about that game, Coach. How did that come about? Or were you involved in scheduling at all?
No, the schedule was set before I
Okay.
did the job. As I was going through that process, I did see the schedule, and it's a stout schedule. It's a great schedule, especially our non-region games are tough teams. You got a Columbia Central, which I'm very familiar with from my days coaching Insworth and scrimmaging those guys and what they've done, and obviously East Robinson and Webb. I mean, it's a challenging schedule, which is great. You want to be challenged. You want to be you want to have a chance to get ready for all the things that's thrown your way in the D2AA playoffs with the teams out of Memphis and the teams out of Chattanooga area. It's a great league, and in our region, arguably, there's several teams in our region alone who are going to be in the hunt. So we're week in, week out, we're going to have tough competition, and I know that, and understand what that looks like, and know how to prepare our guys to handle that, because it will be some adversity we'll face, and we'll have to be able to bounce back and deal with it and push through week to week and through that type of schedule. When you have a tough schedule like that, it's about numbers and staying healthy. You want your team playing really good football, in October, later in the season, as you make that chase towards the playoffs. But we'll take it week by week, and I recognize it's a challenging schedule with some really good teams that we're playing.
Rock Batten, new Pope John Paul II football coach, joining us here on Coach's Corner, presented by 10 Pin Alley Eat Play Party. Rock, again, welcome back, and appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon.
Well, I thank you guys. I really appreciate it. And like I said, I'm excited and thrilled to be back, and just looking forward to being in the area, coaching up all the great young people at JP2, and hopefully talking to you guys again, Mo and Wade. I enjoyed this. I'm sure maybe when we play Columbia Academy or Columbia Central, we may get back on here and have a chance to chat again. But I appreciate you guys having me.
Plan on it. Absolutely.
No doubt.
Rock, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, you guys take care. Blessed day.
Thank you.
Hey, before we get out of this segment, we need to mention our weekly awards. Our Custom Stone Handlers In to Win Life Team of the Week is the Zion Christian Lady Eagles. Picked up a couple of wins over the past week. The weekend question is January 13th through 19th. They defeated Dixon Academy 55-20 and Lancaster Christian 35-29. So the Zion Christian Lady Eagles are our custom stone handlers in to win life team of the week. Besides the military, there is no greater team building function than athletics. Custom stone handlers invites you all to get in the game. So again, Zion Christian's Lady Eagles are our custom stone handlers in to win life team of the week. And our athlete of the week is Independence's Aaliyah Fleming. The senior guard averaged 15.5 points in a pair of victories as Independence went 1-1, but the one win was a big one as they defeated Summit, crosstown rival Summit. She scored 10 of 10 from the free throw line. So Aaliyah Fleming is our Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia athlete of the week. Congratulations to her. And again, to the Zion Christian Lady Eagles, our custom stone handlers in to win life team of the week. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. When we come back, we will be talking a little hoops. Stick around.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. Welcome back to Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. In our next segment, we'll be throwing it back to a recent conversation that we had with Nashville-based college football official Russ Pulley, who worked his last game over the holidays at the Pinstripe Bowl. It's nice being able to check in with him and just talk about college football officiating, some of his memories of it, and what's next for him as he steps off the field. So be sure and check that out at the top of the hour. Right now, though, we're going to talk a little basketball, and we're going to start with a game that will not take place as scheduled. If you are a women's basketball fan and you had kind of blocked out tonight, well, drop back and regroup, because number 2 South Carolina will not be hosting number 5 LSU tonight as originally scheduled. You know, we talked on Tuesday with Chip Walters during our MTSU segment about travel logistics and that kind of thing, and how tough things can be when you get winter weather such as we've gotten. Well, apparently LSU's women weren't able to get out of Baton Rouge to Columbia for this matchup as scheduled. So they are expected to be able to get out today. And the game is now set for tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern. So that'll be 4 here. I don't know what that does to TV plans, unfortunately, but that is the situation there.
Yeah, wild situation in the sense that you're talking about LSU and South Carolina being impacted by winter weather and snow, right? And so as that region and pretty much everywhere around us, it feels like, except for Tennessee, kind of deals with the fallout of that. That is the casualty, and so you just get an extra little day to get your appetite built up. But it's good to know that everybody, sure, they tried to pull this off as best and safely as they could, but it sounds like it was just not possible.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. Again, South Carolina's 18-1. Their only loss is to UCLA. LSU still unbeaten at, I think, 20-0 coming into this one. So it's going to be a high-powered matchup whenever they do finally get to play it, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of eyes on it. So
and a special start time at 4 tomorrow. It'll still be on ESPN, but it's at 4 o'clock. So the way I understand it, that's the only top 25 game. So in a weird way, you get even more shine tomorrow, even though they did have to bump it back a night.
yeah, I mean, you wind up kind of being the only game in town to some degree. So yeah, that's going to be a barn burner whenever they do play it. So 4 o'clock Central Time tomorrow, number 5 LSU at number 2 South Carolina. Meanwhile, as we mentioned in the rundown, Arkansas comes to Memorial Gym taking on a Vanderbilt Commodore women's team that just defeated Tennessee on Sunday. So they got a little momentum going as the Razorbacks and Mike Neighbors come into town.
Yeah, good little slate tonight in SEC women's action. And Vanderbilt will be kind of right back in the thick of things. We're going to repeat ourselves a lot, I feel like, over the course of this season, but you can't afford to have any off nights. You can't afford to take anybody for granted. Vegas seems to think Vanderbilt can take it for granted. They're favored by 23.5 in tonight's game. But trust me, you do not want to take, when you're a team that's living on the edge, like the Vanderbilt women and the men are, you have to be at your absolute best every single night. You can't afford to overlook the Razorbacks coming in.
You know, Vanderbilt 15-4 coming into this matchup. Arkansas is 8-12, but I'm going to tell you, again, Mike Neighbors has been doing this for a long time, and Arkansas may be, if not the best team, certainly the best coached 8-12 team out there. And to your point, I don't think Shea Ralph and her bunch will be taking them lightly as they come in tonight. But at the same time, particularly being at home, this is a game that Vanderbilt kind of needs to win in terms of upward mobility in the Southeastern Conference. The other game of particular local interest, again, Tennessee 15-2, number 17 in the country, goes to 18-2, number 7 Texas tonight. That game can be seen on ESPN. By the way, again, that Arkansas Vanderbilt game will be shown on ESPN Plus. But yeah, this Tennessee Texas game was a big game before it became a Southeastern Conference game. You know, going back to Jody Conrad and obviously the late Pat Summitt. This has always been a high-profile matchup, and it continues to be with Vic Schaefer and Kim Caldwell. And, you know, the Lady Vols obviously trying to bounce back from that tough loss that they took Sunday at Memorial Gym. So should be interesting as well.
Yeah, going to be a high-profile showdown. Like you said, would have been if it were not with SEC implications tied to it. But Tennessee will have to be at their very best, and obviously still playing that wait-and-see game with Kim Caldwell. And any day now, sounds like Coach Jenna Burdett met with the media for the first time all season on Tuesday. So don't know if that's, we start, speculating and we start becoming medical professionals here. But the thing is, whether it was Caldwell or Burdett that's maybe taking over on the sideline, it's going to be tough. Vegas says Texas is favored by 15.5 tonight. Tennessee will have to hit some of those patented threes, hopefully early, to stay in that game, because it feels like Texas a little more entrenched. Not a shot at the Lady Vols, but they're still on the come up, whereas Texas is kind of already on solid footing.
They are definitely still on the come up, and to your point, it's really feast or famine the way Tennessee goes about its business. They put up a lot of threes. If they're going down, the other team's going to be in trouble. If they're not, they're going to be in trouble. And it really is as simple as that. They went through a stretch where they were getting some stuff close to the basket Sunday in the second half against Vanderbilt, and that's what kind of allowed them to get back in that one. But, still, live by the three, die by the three. So we will see how that one goes out in Austin tonight. Looking at some NBA action from last night. Cavs Rockets. Former Brentwood Academy, short-lived Vanderbilt standout Darius Garland came into that game shooting 90+ from the foul line. Only 6 other players in the National Basketball Association were as accurate as Darius Garland at the free throw line. So, of course, Darius misses 2 of 3 in the final 5 seconds that helped Houston pull out a 1-point victory last night.
Crazy game. And this is wild. I had this one pulled up on the league pass, and I kind of turned it off because Houston looked like they were in control of the game. And then inexplicably, Tari Eason commits a flagrant foul on Garland, and they take the standard 6 minutes of real time to review and make sure everything is sorted. The Cavs get 3 free throws and the ball, and you got Garland going to the line. You're saying, holy cow, we're about to do this, and we're about to get a clutch win on a night where we probably didn't deserve one. And then it fell apart, missing the free throws, and then Donovan Mitchell missing at the buzzer. He had missed one just prior to that, too. But I had the game on and turned it off, and then my phone starts pinging and with an update and, gives a brief headline. And I'm like, wait a sec, what did I just miss? And, very uncharacteristic. One of the top free throw shooters. He's having a great season, but it was not there down the stretch. That was a good win for Houston to hang on.
What you missed, Wade, was Cleveland going on a 19-0 run in the fourth.
Yeah, I flipped it off. I said, well, this baby's put to bed here, as it was looking grim for those guys. So props are battling back in a hostile environment versus a team that is one of the top 6 or 7 teams in the association. Most would agree, and so you get there, you take your chances, right? You have your best free throw shooter. You got Mitchell with a couple of cracks at it down the stretch. Unfortunately, none of it went your way. Otherwise, that would have been an all-time steal of a win.
No doubt. Cleveland and Oklahoma City are now each 36-7. Houston has the 4th best record in the league at 29-14, but Houston is the only team in the NBA that has beaten both Cleveland and Oklahoma City. So there's a little resume builder for what that's worth in the
good
NBA.
Win. And you mentioned the Thunder. That was another game that I had pulled up for a minute. Shea goes for 54 last night. We're streaking toward not just if he is going to be the MVP, but is he going to be a unanimous MVP, which will be the first time in close to a decade, the last time that Curry pulled that feat off. So unreal performance. First time he goes for 50+ this year, 54. The Jazz were sneaky competitive last night. That's what led him to stay in the game as long as he had to.
The situation in Miami with Jimmy Butler is getting borderline ridiculous. Butler has been suspended again by the Heat for missing the Wednesday night flight for tonight's game against Milwaukee. Butler had plans to join the team Wednesday evening, but was told, you know what, just stay home. Miami plays Saturday at Brooklyn. Butler is suspended for both tonight's game and Saturday's game. This is his 2nd suspension this month. And again, I think I asked this when the first one was announced. If you've got a guy that doesn't really want to play for you anyway, are you really punishing him by suspending him? I mean, you're getting in his pocket, I guess. But other than that, how much is this impacting Jimmy Butler?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you're just trying to preserve. It feels like a deal's inevitable, right? And it feels like
Gotta
it's
be.
inevitable. It feels like it's inevitable for both sides. So on one hand, he doesn't have the chance of getting hurt if you don't roll him out there, which obviously helps your trade value. And then on the other hand, you are going to have to deal with the rest of your team when he is out of there. So you're kind of doing the right thing as far as preserving team chemistry and this and that. But yeah, I mean, this is just kind of an ugly situation for everybody involved, and kind of just the latest chapter until we get a deal done at some point. And I did see this. Jimmy throwing some shade, man. I got my Grizz gear on. He said to Mark J. Spears he's open to trade, quote, for any team except Memphis. So
I don't understand that.
Come on, Jimmy. They're the third best record, the fourth best record in the NBA, and got one of the best records since like November, like the second best record since November. So come on, man, show some love.
What? I don't understand that. I wish
must not like barbecue or something. I don't know what's going on. Or not. He's not a Gibson Donuts fan. I'm rocking my Grizz Gibson Donut shirt today. So maybe Jimmy's got something against those local eateries. I don't know what his deal is, but
well, I mean,
he's got to get something figured out.
If he don't like barbecue, he don't need to be here no way. But yeah, suspended for 2 games due to, quote, a continued pattern of disregard of team rules, insubordinate conduct, and conduct detrimental to the team. It pretty well covers it.
I mean, the only thing I don't understand is why is it not just an indefinite suspension almost at this point, right? Why are we kind of just prodding along a game here and a game there? Why not just say, hey, he's suspended until further notice?
Absolutely.
It's all got to do with the trade value, presumably. You're trying to save your culture and your locker room because you are still in the mix in the playoffs in the East, but you're also trying to wheel and deal and get the best package available for this guy.
Shifting gears just a second, it seems like it was comeback Wednesday in the Southeastern Conference last night on the men's side. As Arkansas finally gets off the schneid, coming back from 15 points down at home to defeat Georgia 68-65. That was their first win in FCC play under John Calipari. And South Carolina got up 14 on visiting Florida last night before the Gators came back and scored with less than 5 seconds to play for a 70-69 victory. The SEC continues to be crazy.
Yeah, going to see wild results like this all season long, and we're going to see some teams battling right to the cusp. I mean, if you're South Carolina, that's one you're already seeing the season kind of be slowly taken from you and kind of the life sucked out of you. But, man, that's one that it would be close. It could be a galvanizing win, and instead, man, it is a bitter loss. Would have given you a top 5 victory right there at home.
No doubt. With that loss, South Carolina falls to 0-6 in conference action. And again, with Arkansas's win, the Gamecocks are the only winless team in the SEC at this point. So that would have been a nice one to have and a nice feather in their cap, a nice scalp on the wall, that kind of thing. And when you get up 14, you'd like to think you could close that thing out, especially at home.
Yeah, that's the demoralizing part. You have the perfect situation. You're up double digits. You're at home. You got a top 5 team. But also on that hand, you have to, put the final nail in the coffin to get everybody in this league nailed down, and whether they're top 5 or not. And it was crazy. To your point, all 3 games were wild last night. That was a 1-point game. Arkansas wins by 3. Texas A&M sneaks out a 1-point win. Every game was a nail-biter last night in that league, and it feels like that's going to be the trend for the rest of the season.
Right. Absolutely. Our number 1 here on Throwback Thursday is in the books on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back for our number 2, again, it is Throwback Thursday. We'll be throwing it back to our recent conversation with Nashville-based former college football official Russ Pulley. Stick around.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vilay Saisuka, CEO and founder of Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee, here in Murfreesboro. We offer foot and ankle care from ingrown toenails to diabetic foot wounds. We also fix ankle fractures and things like that.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Always great when we can catch up with a guy like our next guest, Russ Pulley, Nashville-based Southeastern Conference football official, among other things, joining us here, sporting his Preds gear as yeah. Hope springs eternal, man. You're a brave man, but Russ Pulley joining us here. Russ, we appreciate you taking some time with us, and just
my pleasure, Maurice.
Yeah, I wanted to reach out to you because it became, it was announced, I guess, during the Pinstripe Bowl this weekend that was your last game as a college football official, and I thought, you know what, we've never had Russ Pulley on the show. We need to fix that.
Well. Well, you are correct that the announcement was accurate. I decided in February of this past year that I would make this my last season, and it became official last week. So thank you for having me on.
What prompts an official to shut it down?
Well, a lot of things, but I'm 66 years old, and when I turned 60, I started looking at each season and evaluating whether or not I would come back for another season, based on a lot of things, based on performance, based on how I feel about the season, the upcoming season, whether or not, you have the desire to come back and prepare, because there's a lot of preparation that goes into a season. And for me, it became one of those things where I talked about it with the boss, and I don't want to deteriorate at all. And I really didn't feel like I was deteriorating in terms of my performance, and the boss didn't either. But you don't want to get to the point where you look at your previous season and say, well, I should have left a year ago, because that's always the talk among officials. And there's also this this thing in the officiating community that many people say that officials don't really know when to leave, and I didn't want them to tag me with that. So, and the third component is, I work in the middle, and the NFL doesn't do that anymore, but college does, and you tend to take a little bit of a beating. And for the first time in my career, even though I made the decision in February to leave, first time in my career, I ended up getting banged up and having to miss time on the field. I broke my leg, tore my hamstring, and had a high ankle sprain at the hit at Arkansas. And so I was out for 4 weeks, and fortunately able to come back and work the last 2 games in the bowl season. But that's always a concern of mine when, how much longer can I call it cheating death in there. So I was really comfortable with the fact that this would be it for me, and made that decision in February, and I feel good about it. It's a little bit bittersweet because, when you leave 25 years doing something, and it finally hits you, and it just hit me last week, then I have to deal with that. But I'm still comfortable with the fact that I'm happy with the career and happy to be retiring, and also happy to let other officials who have been working hard to get in the Southeastern Conference. This creates a spot for somebody else as well.
It's funny that you say that specific concept right there, Russ, because, I work a lot with sports at the high school level, as does David, and we hear that people aren't getting into officiating. So, I mean, where...
I got my little grandbaby over there.
I understand. Are there people coming along to fill your spot?
Yeah, well, we definitely are. We feel like we're in good shape in the immediate future. But you bring up a good point, because we need to we need to really work hard to fill the pipeline, and in some ways that is we're struggling with that at the high school level, and as we develop them moving on forward, because there really is you have to have so many agencies linked together and so many different organizations working together to get people from the beginning of an officiating career to our level into the NFL level. And there is no real organized way to go about doing that right now. So we really rely upon others who rely upon others who rely upon others to really get people in the pipeline. And I think there's a lot of steps missed along the way. For example, where we get officials, what kind of person makes a good official? Those things are often a little bit, it's an inexact science. So, but we do need, for example, ex-players tend to really understand, have a feel for the game that others don't have. So that's a really good starting point for people. So we need to really market ourselves better to ex-players than we're doing.
Russ, as sports members of the sports media, as fans, there's nothing like Saturdays in college football and the atmosphere and the pageantry that comes with college football, and particularly, the SEC. You've got to live that the last 25 years. What's that like? Going in some of these SEC environments, and just the crowd, the noise, the pageantry, all that, and kind of rank some of your top atmospheres, if you can recall, from your days on the field.
Christian, I'm on the phone. Well, I'll tell you, I've really been fortunate, and if you really look at the last 25 years, I really feel like that's been sort of the golden age of the SEC. Look at what the Southeastern Conference has done. Look at how many different SEC teams have been national champions, and how many times the SEC has been playing in the national championship. That tells you where the best football is. And this is a key right here. In the last Southeastern Conference officiating crew worked the national championship, it was the 2004 season. So in my entire career, I've never had the opportunity to work that game because we don't get it. Why? Because we have teams in it.
Right.
And you think about how it's spread out. Your point is really well taken because it's a great league, and we really feel like that the environment and the atmosphere and the importance of the games is really pretty incredible in the regular season. So I've been fortunate enough to work those, and it does. There's nothing like a tough, meaningful conference game. When I say that, they're all meaningful, but those where you have, like Alabama and LSU playing, you're going to go to the CFP. Back in the day, it was Tennessee and Florida when I first started. And you work that game with Urban Meyer and Philip Fulmer. Those were really tough games, and you knew when you were in one of those. And then you got the traditional rivalries like Georgia, Auburn, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. And you go into those games, and it's a totally different kind of football game. And it doesn't matter what the score is or what's on the line. Those rivalry games will test you, and those have been really good. To the question of people often ask me what the favorite venues are. I really don't have a favorite because nearly all of our schools create a unique environment of their own. I mean, you go into LSU and there's nothing like that. A night game at LSU. My last conference game was Alabama and Auburn, and there's no better environment than that. It doesn't matter what's on the line for that game. I remember working that game when it was one of Coach Tuberville's last games, and he knew he was going to take a beating. He only brought 65 players to the game, and he told us that. He said, "Let's get this thing over as quickly as possible." I said, "Coach, there's 60 minutes on that clock. We can't rush that." And they did take a beating, but it had been a while since Alabama had won that game. And the remarkable thing to me is when a score is as lopsided as that is, typically the crowd leaves. There was nobody left, and they were screaming just as loud for the last touchdown as they did the first one. So those are kind of things that we get to experience that I think nobody else does, really. And they don't have that in the NFL. They don't have that in other leagues. They've got a little bit of it, but they don't have it. To the extent that we do. So it has been a privilege to be a part of all that and to experience it. But as an official, at the same time, we have a job to do. So, condition yourself not to get too caught up in the emotions of the environment, and you do your job and you focus on doing your job properly. So that can be a little bit of a challenge when you're first coming into the league.
Russ Pulley, longtime college football official out of Nashville, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Russ, you talked about getting folks into the pipeline for officiating. Take us through your progression from non-official to one of the SEC's finest.
Well, thank you for that. And I will. I was born as a baseball umpire into officiating. My dad was a baseball signer. So when I was basically 16 years old, he got me officiating as a baseball umpire. And that's how I broke in, earned some stripes. And what's interesting is, that was in Virginia. And my career, I was an FBI agent. And when the FBI sent me to Nashville in 1985. And when I came here, I was coaching a women's basketball team out at, Westminster Presbyterian. And I know you're going to know these names, Maurice, but Bill Harris and Doris Armstrong were the two guys who were officiating my basketball games. And they were there at every game. And we started talking. And I told them I was a baseball umpire. So they got me involved in umpiring down there in just the little leagues. And then I started calling high school ball. And then I was exposed to guys who were doing all three sports. So I did all three sports at the high school level until my son was born, and I just cut it down to football. And at that time, we didn't we really, football was a passion of mine. I really loved doing it, and we made it a year-round thing there. We started preparation in January for the upcoming season, and never really thought about doing college ball at all. And then, a buddy of mine with whom I worked, he jumped into the college arena, and so I remember working the 97 state championship game, made the decision I was going to give that a whirl, and finally and jumped into it and started progressing. The Ohio Valley Conference hired me, and then I spent a little time 1 year in the Sun Belt, and Bobby Gaston met me and put me on his list, and 2 years later I was on his active roster. So that was my progression. Many people do it differently. But there's really no set path for anyone, but you do need to develop. In high school is a really good place to develop because you get a lot of snaps working. Little league on Saturday, high school on Friday, freshman games on Thursday, middle school games on Wednesday. That's a lot of snaps that are valuable in your development stage.
Not all at the same skill level, obviously.
No, but you still learn at that level for sure. Yes.
Watching. I typically, Russ, watch sporting events with my cell phone in one hand and with my eye on the screen. But friend of the show, Ryan McGee at ESPN McGee, tweeted out Saturday, and Ryan is a friend of officials as well. His dad officiated in the Atlantic Coast Conference for a long time, but he says, good on the Pinstripe Bowl TV truck for recognizing umpire Russ Pulley working his final game after 25 years as an SEC official. He's also spent 40 plus years in public service as a firefighter, paramedic, police officer, state trooper, FBI agent, and Department of Labor investigator. It sounds like to me, Russ, that officiating is the least interesting thing you've done.
Well, that depends on who you talk to. So it seems like anytime anybody ever invites me to speak at any event, whether they want to talk about things I did in the FBI or whatever, football seems to be the most interesting when the questions start pouring in. But I've been fortunate enough to work in areas that I really enjoyed, and that progression was fun for me. So it's been really good in both arenas.
And just the fact that you had the opportunity to be recognized on a national level like that, I would imagine that has to mean a lot, because I know that it's not something that you get into for the recognition, but at the same time, it's sure nice to get it when it comes.
Well, yeah, I certainly don't seek that out, and I did see that. The reason I saw it is when people heard what was put out at the Pinstripe Bowl, I received quite a few comments from friends of mine and others, and they did pass that along, and that was awfully kind of Ryan McGee to do that. I'll say that for sure. That was really nice of him.
Russ, one of the great things about being an officiating, I know this, I work basketball at the high school level, is the relationships that you get to build with your comrades, your fellow officials. As you kind of reflect on that in your career, who are some people that come to mind, just the friends and relationships that you've able to build over the last 2 decades?
There's no question that's the case. I think lost prop there. Any official will tell you that the most important thing about officiating to them is the relationships and the bonds that they create with their fellow officials. Crews, they tend to be like teams when you play team sports because you really rely upon one another, and there are things you do for one another that are unmatched. You go through thick and you go through thin. I mean, we've been on crews where we had some pretty major misses, and you really sort of you gather around people when that happens. And I've been on crews where we've done really well, and But you really need each other during those times because people who don't do this, and if you've officiated, you understand this, that we don't set out to to do bad things. And when it happens, it really, we're mortified by it. I mean, nobody really hurts any worse than the officiating community when we do something that's wrong. So having your comrades around is definitely helpful. But you're right. There's a lot of relationships that I cherish. And fortunately for me, I've had really good relationships with coaches and really good relationships with players.
Do you remember a miss? Is there a miss that sticks out for you?
Yeah, I remember a lot of them. I was on the crew that we took a down away from Penn State. You might remember that a couple of years ago. Auburn and Penn State, and I can walk you through the whole series of events that led up to it. But the bottom line is they punted on third down, and so when we got off the field and realized that happened, it's like, well, oops. So it ended up being a good experience for us because I gathered, I was a veteran official at that point in time, and I gathered the troops together and said, boys, we're going to poke our chests out. We're going to take this like men, and we're not going to run from this like some do. And so we really did. We got our little suspension letter, and we got the 2 words catastrophic failure along with that letter. But we're proud of the way we handled ourselves. It was a miss, and you got to own it. So those are probably the two stories of misses. But again, I still remember a lot of them. So we could go on and on.
You raise an interesting point there, Russ, because I think a lot of fans may not necessarily realize there are repercussions.
Oh yeah, there are repercussions, and we knew they were coming. Because I'm like, you can't lose a down and not expect to get punished for it. And the coordinator, we knew it was coming. We got it. He didn't give us lashes or whatever. He knew we knew it was coming, and he gave it to us. And then we recovered from it, and everybody went on to have a great season beyond that. And it all is in how you handle it. I mean, I don't think anybody, this year, I think you can remember the big misses. And fortunately, I wasn't a part of any of them. But when they happen, and there are repercussions when they happen. It's just that they're not made public.
All right. Nashville's Russ Pulley retiring after 25 seasons of Southeastern football officiating. Russ, should we look for you on a football field sometime? Maybe at the high school level or anything like that? Or
I would doubt that I'll ever be officiating again, but I have a real passion for development. So I'm gonna try to find some role somewhere, maybe with the SEC. They won't make those decisions for another couple weeks, but I do have an interest in development and helping officials develop. And so I will find some kind of role in that arena. I don't know whether it'll be at the high school level, to college level, or where it'll be, but that'll be what I'll seek out if I don't get offered something like that.
Awesome. Russ, we appreciate it. Salute you for your service, and look forward to seeing what happens next for you, man.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. Thanks for thinking of this, and feel free to reach out to me anytime. Maurice, I've known you for a while. Your work's always very good, and we'll always enjoy seeing it. So
thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Take care.
You too. We'll catch up.
Hi, I'm Riley, a certified physician associate here at Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee. We have a couple locations, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, as well as Franklin. We treat people of all ages. We're excited to get you back on your feet and hope we can help you today.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
The journey begins with happy feet.
You're seeing the signs too, right?
What signs?
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
It continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Really enjoyed listening to our conversation. Well, my and David's conversation. I forgot, Wade, that you weren't involved with that, but
it was good to hear.
It was, man. That was good stuff. Really enjoyed talking to Russ, and he's been visible in and around Nashville for a long time, not just with football officiating, obviously, but good dude, and wish him well in whatever happens next for him. But that was nice to go back and listen to again. Pleased to have with us now Thomas Harding of MLB.com, covers the Colorado Rockies, has done it for a long time and has done it well, and has done it long enough that he has finally earned a ballot for the Hall of Fame for the 2026 process with the Baseball Writers Association of America. So, Thomas, thanks for joining us, man. Good afternoon.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, that vote eligibility is, I guess, long in coming and should have happened many, many years ago. But the baseball writers didn't allow in MLB.com for a long time, and then you had to work 10 years to get 10 consecutive years to get the vote. So I guess I'm on my 24th year of that 10-year wait period. So
there you go. Well, better late than never, I guess. So what was it? Did they not like y'all because you were internet, or because you were employed by MLB, or what was that?
It was a combination of both, and at times it seemed like the standards changed. There were some carefully written rules to keep us out until we were in there. So I guess we're all one big happy family now.
10 consecutive years with the same publication on the same beat. What exactly is that?
Their rule is 10 consecutive years in their organization. So you're covering Major League Baseball and you've been deemed a member of their organization.
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations. You got 2.5 times their requirements. So well worth it, I guess. When the announcement was made Tuesday of Ichiro, CC, and Billy Wagner. What was your reaction to that? Was that about the way you expected it to go down? Was there anybody that didn't get in that you expected, or what? Just what was your reaction?
Well, it was exactly the way it went down. I was very happy for Billy Wagner, who actually grew up not far from where I grew up. And one of actually his high school coach, one of the very influential people, was a guy I knew very well. His family and my family all knew each other, so it was a really good time to see. Ichiro, I was hoping it would be unanimous, but someone decided that it wouldn't be. Ichiro is one of the best baseball players I've ever seen, maybe the best at putting the ball in play and putting the ball in play hard that I've seen as far as line drives and things like that. He could adjust his swing to anything. And CC Sabathia, I think that in this modern era of starting pitching where it's fewer innings, fewer wins, and you're really trying to kind of figure it out, he was one of the last of the old school, so I'm happy to see him get in.
Yeah, felt like three worthy candidates. To your point, Mo and I discussed it yesterday on the show, Thomas. Ichiro, whoever's got that secret omission, it almost feels like they're keeping some. I don't know if they're going to release that on a rainy day or if they're doing that for some notoriety. But man, it feels like we got shortchanged a little bit with Ichiro not going in unanimously.
Well, I think there is also this thought among some baseball writers, and it's a very old thought, that nobody deserves to be unanimous. Hank Aaron wasn't unanimous. I mean, come on, sometimes people, I think, use their vote, and you can use the vote any way you want. So this is just my opinion. It's almost like a Revenge of the Nerds thing. Like, I've got power now, so I'm going to use it.
Yeah. And that was the sentiment that I was just getting ready to say. It almost felt like a little bit of a, I can wield this and you can't type vibe, depending on who that person might be and what their preferences are.
Yeah, well, and the rules are actually intentionally vague so people can choose however they want to do it. I mean, there's a whole group of people from the steroids era that they're on the ballot and they're eligible. So how do you deal with that? There's no real guideline about dealing with it. It's intentionally vague so that the people that have covered this sport and written about this sport can kind of make their own decisions on that, whether you agree or not.
And I can see the thought process because, like you said, Hank Aaron wasn't unanimous. Willie Mays wasn't unanimous. Guys like that weren't unanimous. So why should anybody be? But
the question is, why weren't they unanimous?
That's the better question, but that's not fixable at this point. But, I guess once Mariano Rivera kind of broke the seal on that, then it's kind of over with, man. I mean, it almost looks worse. Like, I mean, this guy or whoever this voter was apparently isn't going to be identified, and for obvious reasons, I guess. But
and I'm not sure on this because, frankly, having been not included for a long time, I really haven't paid a lot of attention to it. But I do believe that they end up releasing the votes unless you ask for them not to be released. I'll have to find that out next year. These are, and sometimes I think that you look at maybe there's some organizations and there are some news organizations that do not allow their reporters to vote on things like the most valuable player or whatever, because they feel like the reporter becomes part of the story. I get that, but I also think that's a bit of posturing. So I don't know if this particular person's vote will be out there, but when it does come out there, maybe they'll defend it, or maybe they'll just say, hey, my vote is my vote, and you can say what you want on social media.
And either is, permissible. Like you said, it's your vote. You can do what you want to with it, but there's going to be a little notoriety to go with it should it be known who it was. So we can look forward to that. Beltran and Andrew Jones, first two out, as they like to say with the NCAA tournament. What are your thoughts about those two guys and their prospects going forward, again, as a voter in the 2026 process?
Carlos Beltran, I think, deserves a lot of consideration. My first thought, and I don't vote on, like, for most years I voted on the Cy Young. Sometimes, last year I voted on a different award. I usually reserve most of the comments on that until the time to vote, because what I like to do is really study it. But just off the top of my head, Carlos Beltran is a lot closer to my vote. He's a guy that I would think, yeah, I'm probably going to vote for. Andrew Jones, he's a guy, especially the prime of his career. And I'm very strong on the prime of your career, where he was the best center fielder in the game, and in a lot of people's eyes, the best center fielder of that entire era, not just when he played. He's a guy I would probably lean toward. I don't know right now. I know that there's some, I guess on both of them, there are some knocks. Carlos Beltran, obviously, the sign stealing scandal, which that doesn't bother me very much. And I think that with Andrew Jones, there was a long period of his career where he was hurt and he declined, but it doesn't take away the height of his career. So those are two guys that I look at and say, okay, they're pretty close, and maybe, I'll really look hard at them, probably going into it thinking, yeah, they get my vote.
Devil's advocate for just a second. If you were to not vote for Andrew Jones, why would you not? And obviously, anybody that listens to this show for any period of time knows I'm a Braves fan, and I had a put Andrew in the HOF hashtag a couple of days ago. But I mean, what do you feel like? I mean, other than the decline, and I don't know.
That's exactly it.
I think you just said it. I don't know how you let the decline take away from the peak.
Right.
I don't understand the logistics to that.
Well, a lot of players, they'll look at the peak and say that wasn't enough, that you wanted greatness over a longer period of time. So that's where that comes in. Now, with Andrew Jones, he stayed around, he played through some injuries in his career. And let's face it, guys get a lot of money. I don't know that you punish them for staying around, for teams wanting them to be a part of them at the end of their careers. But the Andrew Jones, that seems to be the biggest knock on him. However, he is inched toward it. So a lot of people believe that, especially based on his dominance in center field and also in that Atlanta lineup for a long period of time, that maybe he is a Hall of Famer. So I'm looking at, you look at the vote totals, and it seems that a lot of people think he is one.
Are you concerned with time running out on him? Next year will be his next to last year on the ballot, and he's at 66.2% this time around.
What I find is that guys who are close to the end, and I dealt with that with Todd Helton and with Larry Walker, that there is a bump toward them. Also, guys like that, they usually get a very big push from their teams and from the sabermetric community. So what happens is the voters really get to spend more time looking at their numbers. Did they get to be a better player? No, they didn't get to be a better player because they've been retired for 15 years now. But I think that especially when you get to the end and there's a lot of attention, then maybe you have the opportunity as a voter to look at it again. And maybe those who are pulling for you, often it's your team. It's your team's media relations group. It's members of the sabermetric community that keep looking and looking and looking at these stats over and over and over again. Probably not the most fun guys at parties, but guys who can really help you assess a guy's career. I think that those things work in your favor toward the end of your time on the ballot.
Thomas, you mentioned the steroids era earlier. Can't go too far in that discussion without mentioning A-Rod. And Alex Rodriguez gets 37.1% of the vote. There's a New York Post article that said he's stuck in Hall of Fame purgatory with no chance of getting out. To me, that sounds like he's stuck in Hall of Fame hell, but I get the sentiment there. So I'm curious, is there a path with still 6 years of eligibility for A-Rod to maybe make a case down the road in your mind?
Well, if you look at the group of voters, there are some that are voting for him, some that aren't. Now, when they put in that whole group of folks from MLB.com who have been around for at least 10 years now.
At least.
Yeah, exactly. At least for many of us, it's at least. Then, does this group of voters come in with a different attitude toward the steroids era? That I think that would be the big question for someone like an A-Rod. Does he get an immediate bump and then continue to work toward being voted into the Hall of Fame? I don't know, because I haven't talked to everybody about it. Everybody has their own feelings about it. My personal feeling, and people will yell at me over it, is I have a hard time knocking people from the steroids era. Now, I understand A-Rod's situation, the fact that he was caught after testing. That does put things in a little bit different perspective. However, there were wonderful players that, yes, they used or probably used steroids. But here's my question. When you look at them, say a guy hit a whole lot of home runs and he had a steroid cloud, which is, let's just hypothetically say Barry Bonds, okay? At that time, especially if you look at the Mitchell report, it was widespread throughout the game. Here's my question. Has anyone ever taken each home run and said, did this come off of a non-steroid user? Did this come off of a steroid user? There are steroid users at all positions, pitchers, position players, or whatever. Until you do that and say, well, we think he cheated on these home runs, it was the game. It was this museum honors the game in its eras. It shows who the best players were under the rules that were played. There was a brief period early in the game where ground rule doubles, what we call them now, were home runs. So that's my feeling on the steroids era.
Thomas Harding of MLB.com joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Thomas, you talked about teams and sabermetrics groups and that kind of thing kind of getting on folks as bandwagons later in their Hall of Fame candidacy. Sometimes teammates get on your bandwagon as well, as in Chipper Jones, who tweeted, I want to ask all HOF voters one question. If Andrew Jones plays for the New York Yankees for 15 years with 10 gold gloves, 400 home runs, 1,300 RBIs, is he an HOFer? Let me answer for you. First ballot. Time to have a conversation about HOFers chiming in. 75 living members can make sure it's right. Now, his support for Andrew aside, why don't living Hall of Famers have a vote? You know, you see this with the Heisman process where Heisman Trophy winners have a vote on going forward the Heisman Trophy. I mean, it kind of makes sense to me. Who knows better than somebody who's in the Hall what it takes to be in the Hall?
You know, there's an argument for that. Now, I will put this, Dave Parker finally got in this year. When I was covering a lot of the minors and some of the majors, when people talked about Dave Parker, I'm talking about the contemporaries in the game, they said, this guy's a future Hall of Famer. He didn't get in with the writers voting. He got in on one of those era committees that did allow former players in. I think that the way that the Hall of Fame is set up, and frankly, the way the Baseball Writers Association, if you look at what I've been describing, it's a very powerful organization. I personally believe that the organization should be powerful because the access of reporters is always something that they have to fight for. But this is part of maintaining power, like the broadcasters. Vin Scully never had a vote for the Hall of Fame, but it is under the Hall of Fame's rules, the BBWAA that vote for the Hall in this particular phase. They do have other phases that they allow former players in. I just don't know. You would almost have to obliterate all the rules that have existed forever for the Hall of Fame and come up with a new voting procedure. So while there is an argument for it, I understand why it is the way it is.
Makes sense. You and I chatted a couple of days ago as we were setting up your appearance today. Again, you've got a vote in the 26 process. And as Wade and I said when we were talking about this yesterday, the 26 first-timers aren't particularly an inspiring group.
Right. Yeah, I am not sure exactly, from the newcomers, here's the thing that's going to happen. And I feel like maybe this is where the guys that you necessarily don't want at your parties are going to come into it. Starting pitching, it is very hard to rank, to figure out exactly how to rank these guys against history because starting pitching has changed so much. There are so many fewer innings. There are teams, and this has taken a couple of decades to de-emphasize the win as a very important thing for a starting pitcher. So my question will be, when we look at the Cole Hamels and Mark Burleys and Madison Bumgarners, how are we going to compare them against past eras? Or do we compare them against past eras? Do we look at the best players in the current era? So that will be, when you look at maybe not the most exciting group of people coming onto the ballot next year, I think that'll be the question that will be asked repeatedly. I know I was at actually a wedding this weekend, and there was a broadcaster, and she was discussing how low the percentage of starting pitchers that are in the Hall of Fame, and it's going to get lower. Is that really is that really a good representation of the game when we have an era where almost no starting pitchers have the numbers that compare to the past?
Thomas, speaking of starting pitchers, another guy on this list, yeah, he's known for his career and, all the World Series championships with the Yankees. But how about Astros legend Andy Pettitte? I'm reading some comparisons that say that he maybe is trending kind of toward like a Larry Walker, where he might be cutting it real close, but there might be a groundswell to get him in maybe in his final year or two on the ballot. He's still got a few remaining.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And we go back to the Chipper Jones question. He pitched a whole lot for the New York Yankees. And there are a whole lot of voters who covered the New York Yankees. And there are voters. I mean, I remember years ago where one voter actually said publicly that he withheld Roberto Alomar's Hall of Fame vote because he didn't play well when he played for the New York Mets for a year or two. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But the New York bump will help him. I think that when I go back and I look at that era, and I remember watching World Series and some of the things that he did, to me, he trends toward the Hall of Fame now. Now, when the guys that, okay, let's invite him to the party, but they're in the, just like they're in the corner talking about Hall of Fame percentages here. I do wonder, when this is examined and re-examined, could Andy Pettitte be kind of a test case for people, at least of his era, if not this era, to see what's a Hall of Famer? What's the definition of a starting pitcher who's a Hall of Famer?
There was a guy that I hadn't thought about, and I didn't realize time has slipped away. And but it's good to know that he potentially has a few more. But I was fascinated, and that's what made me think of it when you mentioned the starting pitching, because it is an interesting breakdown going forward as we kind of continue to move further toward the present with these guys.
Thomas, when you mentioned the Yankee impact, it reminded me of the legendary Beano Cook, who once said so famously, you have to play for Notre Dame or play well against Notre Dame to have a shot at winning the Heisman. And it feels, when you said that, it kind of lined up for me. That suddenly makes a lot of sense in this situation as well. Thomas Harding of MLB.com covers the Rockies for 24 years. Time flies when you're having fun, right?
That's right. It's fun. I'm still young, I think. Well, maybe I'll have to check my shoulder, my ankle, whatever, but I'm still young. So yes.
There we go. Man, we appreciate you taking some time with us. Look forward to getting you on again soon.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, and hey, good luck with your budding uniform design career.
I'm having a fun time with that. I've got 2 in the hopper now that are being approved at different stages. So still working. Hey, anybody in the mid-state of Tennessee, let me know. I'll help you design your uniform or your football or baseball helmet. So yeah, enjoy.
There we go.
We know a guy, so hit us up. Thomas, we appreciate it.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
All right. Hey, when we come back here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, it's our final segment of the day. We'll talk a little football. Stick around.
This holiday season, the largest lantern festival in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. Experience more than 1,000 all-new, handcrafted lanterns, towering creatures, magical worlds, and a North Pole village. At the center of it all, the Smashville Ice Rink. Welcome back to Zoolumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
Closing out Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia with a little football. We mentioned this article during yesterday's show before we really had a chance to look at or digest it, but Terry McCormick of Titan Insider was able to sit down with Tennessee Titans president of football operations, Chad Brinker, for a one-on-one yesterday prior to all of the other media availability that Brinker and Mike Barganzi, the new GM, had over at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. And I would encourage you, if you're a Titans fan, to go and take a look at it. It's pretty lengthy, but it provides a little insight, I would think. Wade, I don't know if you've had a chance to take a look at this or not, but Terry kind of got into some interesting questions with Chad, and the president of football operations had some answers. And I don't know. Have you had a chance to look at this?
I'm going through the meat and potatoes. The stuff that I read yesterday when we first brought it up was obviously I wanted to know the question about what happened with Rand Carthon. And then obviously the second question you want to know if you're a Titans fan is what the heck is the quarterback situation right now. And it's cool to see kind of a, yes, this is in text. It'd be a lot better if we were privy to really see the video of this. But like the private media says yesterday, well, that's locked in a vault for some reason from the Titans folks. But even in print, it's still kind of nice and refreshing to see. You get a little more than the constant sound bites that you're used to hearing at almost every press conference.
Yeah. And to your point, the Rand Carthon decision, I have a lot of respect for Rand. He means a lot to me professionally as well as personally. The guy hired me. This was a tough deal, but at the end of the day, we we didn't win enough football games, and ultimately a change was made, and Amy had asked me to help her take us from a 3-win team to a championship team. And the first step in that was to go find a new general manager, and that's why we went and hired Mike. And I am stuck on the fact that I don't know how it is that Rand Carthon was the cause of them being a 3-win football team sufficiently that he was the guy that was let go. And, I'm not necessarily going to die on that hill, but I need somebody to convince me why Rand Carthon specifically is the fall guy in this situation.
Certainly makes you wonder, right? And it was almost as if the ownership just kind of, had a gun and said, one of you three guys has got to go. And it ends up on Carthon. I mean, that's one way to look at it. From the crazy part, and I've said this since day one, it felt like if you're going to let one go, you had to let all three go at this point. You just got to totally clean house, because even when Carthon was put in his new position, it's been this weird, awkward song and dance in that building for the last 2 years. And you're kind of running things even on paper a little differently than almost every other franchise for some reason. And as a result, they've kind of patched things together in this weird, semi-convoluted way, even though it kind of almost doesn't feel like it. Why don't you just go out and say what's really happening is the thing that I think a lot of fans would be frustrated with.
A lot of cloak and dagger behind this, it feels like. And I'm still, among the things that I am stuck on, I'm also stuck on the fact that Rand Carthon hired Chad Brinker. And at some point, Chad Brinker moved ahead of Rand Carthon in the Titans hierarchy. And I don't know how that happened. And nobody has explained it, including Chad Brinker, because Terry asked him, there has been some speculation regarding how you came to be in charge of the team. Can you describe your ascent through the organization in the 2 years that you have been here with the Titans, going from assistant general manager to president of football operations? And Brinker's initial response is, I don't really know how to answer that. So there's plenty more behind that, but that initial response to me is kind of telling.
kind of telling. I mean, it feels like a real life episode of Succession. I mean, I can see it feels like the same characters, Kendall and everybody else kind of wheeling and dealing. And I mean, this happens in a lot of franchises across all sports. Don't get me wrong. You're only as good as how close potentially you are to the highest person on the pecking order. And it kind of, I mean, if you're a fan, even if you're a neutral observer, it's kind of hard not to feel like that because you make a valid point. How do you decide what seems like it either had to be almost a wholesale change or no change?
Yeah. We could easily get bogged down on this, and I probably did not give this enough time on our run of show. But again, go read this if you are a Titans fan at all. Terry did a good job of getting Chad and getting him to answer some questions. Maybe not necessarily to anybody's satisfaction, but he answered. Former Tennessee defensive back Deion Grant won a national championship at Tennessee, won a Super Bowl championship with the New York Giants over a 12-year NFL career, and now he is the latest to learn that he will be part of the 2025 induction class into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. It was announced yesterday. Apparently, Coach Fulmer got Deion on a Zoom and got him again, we've had Brad Willis on the show, and it's always fascinating the way they are able to pull off these initial welcome to the Hall of Fame type situations. And Deion is now the 5th member of the 2025 class to be announced. As we mentioned earlier in the show, this will be the 60th induction class of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. Joining Deion will be a guy that's near and dear to Wade's heart, Tony Allen of the Memphis Grizzlies, Knoxville native, former Ole Miss guard Elston Turner, Johnson City coaching legend George Pitts. Second time in about 24 hours his name has come up with me, and East Tennessee State basketball standout Bob Brown will be members of that class as well. Texted briefly with Brad, and this is the first 5 of 20 that will be going in later this summer. July 19th is the date of the induction ceremony at the Omni Nashville downtown. So
cool recognition for Deion, a Vols legend, an NFL superstar. I mean, he's kind of the complete package and kind of the complete embodiment. So very, very cool to see him go in. And you mentioned it. Brad's been busy. It was really neat. I watched part of the show Tuesday. They have Tony Allen in studio as part of the Chris Vernon show with Grind City Media there. Brad was in studio. Complete surprise. Tony almost broke down in tears. And he was at the MLK Day Classic the day before because Elston Turner, as an assistant coach with the T-Wolves, was in town. So Brad got a little double dip there. Got to hand out one award on Monday and then got to follow up with the Grindfather on Tuesday. But yeah, he's just getting cranked up, and he does such a great job of running that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll certainly have to try to get him on here over the next little bit and see what he's willing to divulge to us about this process. Grant was a 3-year player at Tennessee from 97 to 99. The second of those years saw him help Tennessee to that 98 national championship. They went 33-5 over his time there, anchor in that defense. He was a first-team All-American. 69 tackles, 9 picks, and 8 pass breakups in his junior season. Not his career, his junior season. 9 picks, 8 breakups. Again, played 12 seasons in the NFL and will be inducted in July into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. That's going to do it for Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Join us right back here tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We'll see you then.